watching Rogers TV.
Welcome to this edition of Dufferin Life. I'm your host, Teena Avery. Thank you so much for tuning in. So I have two special gentlemen here that you're going to meet just momentarily. One has been here before, one is a newcomer, and I'm thrilled to have them here. I want to tell you all about what's happening. Maybe I should tell you, I don't know, but I think we're going to start, maybe the tip of the iceberg. That's where we're going to start. Joining me today, we have
Nice.
Sweetie and Steve. You are playing on the Theatre Orangeville stage right now. Thank you so much for joining me.
It's great to be here.
So, Stephen, you've been on the show before. This is
I've
old
had
hat
the pleasure.
for you. You're
Yes.
used to my craziness and my
Yes, I've
waving
been here
of the
before.
hands.
I know what's to come. No, I don't know what's to come.
That's the whole point.
Yes.
It's all about shock and surprise. So the two of you are on stage doing a show called Tip of the Iceberg.
Correct.
Stephen, tell me a little bit about it.
It's a lovely show. It takes place in Newfoundland, and this small fishing village. Well, it's in the harbor, and then on a boat.
Okay.
That you'll see on the stage that moves around because we go fishing. We're two old friends.
Oh,
We're
certainly
playing
not.
far above, with
I was
special
gonna
effects.
say,
They actually
yeah.
turn us into aged men.
We're like 19 years old normally.
Well, that's the second half to play. But we go out to there's an iceberg floating by, as they do, off the coast, and he wants to go climb on it.
Okay.
For his own.
Who doesn't want to
Harebrained.
climb an iceberg?
Yeah, you know what? If I was on a boat and an iceberg was going by, I'd be like, hey, I want to get on that.
Of course you
right?
would.
So,
Yeah, and you should see the iceberg. Becky Morris, genius designer at Theatre Orangeville. She's created this amazing. You'll see.
It's a thing
Yes,
of beauty.
yeah. I mean, I've actually had Becky and Lisa LaHue on the show before, and Becky comes up with the most brilliant
Magical.
sets, and Lisa and her team just put everything together. And if you've never been, I've already said this to you many times when I've had this artistic director guy on, that if you've never been to a show at Theatre Orangeville, that you definitely need to come out to a show. It is an experience.
Sure it is.
And it's a professional theater. Everything is absolutely amazing. They bring in the best actors.
Well, for other shows, maybe.
So you want, I mean, I don't want you to give away the whole story because we want to keep it a little bit of a secret, but you want to get onto this iceberg and tell me a little bit more. What are we talking about? Friendship?
It is. It's two guys sort of reminiscing about their lives, and but still looking forward to plans for the future. So, yeah.
Yeah, especially you. I'm kind of the codge.
No, okay.
And he's
Certainly not.
Yeah, well, yeah. Yeah, it's, the funny thing is, Sweeney and I have never worked together before. This is the first time. And, we've both been kicking around this Southern Ontario place, working on shows after shows, and I finally get to work with this.
Yeah, I've seen Stephen in a million shows, and yeah, I'm really glad to be working with you now.
Well, it's exciting, and this is the first time you've been on my show. So
First time, so
Wow,
yeah,
exciting, yeah.
I know this is first all over. It's fantastic. Hopefully, it won't be the last.
So what do you think of Theatre Orangeville?
Oh my God! Well, see, I've been coming to see shows here for many, many years.
Okay.
And, I eventually wore David down to give me an audition, so it's succeeded. But as you were saying, it is one of the best professional theatre companies I've ever worked with, and I've worked all across the globe. It's a wee gem. So yeah,
It certainly is. And we're coming into the last week of the show this week. So I'm only imagining that opening night was absolutely fantastic.
As they always are.
Oh, aye.
Yeah. Everything goes tickety-boo.
Yeah, we sang too much, we drank too much.
I heard singing. So let's talk. There's another aspect to the show that they don't know about yet that I just found out about. So tell us a little bit about that.
The show was created by three writers, one of which is a musician, Chris Raitt, who is the third person on our stage. He's not in the boat with us. We're in the boat, and he's on the dock singing songs and sort of being the host.
He's such an amazing musician. Like sometimes we'll stop and just listen to what he's doing and we forget, oh right, we got to do stuff too.
Yeah.
Because he's amazing. He's just amazing.
Yeah, and Sweetie and I sing along with him sometimes. Sometimes he does solo songs that bring the story forward and gets kind of magical at places. It's a beautiful night of theater, and it's theater because it's magic.
Yes.
It's you without green screen. We get in a boat and go out to sea, and the boat breaks down, and we row, and we go onto the iceberg and moor up to it, and none of that's done with the CGI. It's not. It's not. It's the real thing.
It's the real thing, for sure. And I know I just said about not if you've never been to Theatre Orangeville, and I think for some people too, there's a hesitation to go to theatre if they've never been. There's stigma around theatre, like, oh, I've got to get dressed up, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, and it's not like when you walk into Theatre Orangeville, it's this. You get a warm, happy, fuzzy feeling.
Absolutely is. It's a great community, and there's a lot of people are working from home now, and they're not used to that community feel of a public place. And the theatre's a great place to just commune with folk. Enjoy a good laugh together and a good tune, and yeah, we're hoping that people continue to enjoy that like they've been doing for.
And it's magical when an audience becomes an audience.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you feed off of that, yes?
They're part of the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, very much.
And I don't think people realize that a lot. That when you're going to the theater, your reactions, your laughter, your clapping, your sadness when something happens, like it's a give and take.
It's a two-way street, absolutely. And it fills us up.
Oh, you do. You feel when the audience is with you. You feel when you've lost them a wee bit. So
which never happens.
Of course, never happens.
So to put on this show, how long did you rehearse?
2.5 weeks.
2.5 weeks.
Okay. Yeah. So that's not a long time.
No, but it's a pretty standard.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. They do. They prorate an extra week, so we get 3 days and then a day off to figure out the play, and then 2 solid weeks of rehearsal, and then a couple of days of tech.
So do you immerse yourself in your character?
You sort of, well, we both do a lot of prep before day one rehearsal. So yeah, you find out, who your character is, where you are in this world, and so you study. I would say you study a good couple of weeks before you start.
For sure. Yeah, and my wife, when we're talking on the phone or something like that, she'll say, I can hear your Newfoundland accent. I said, well, I can't really drop it all the time now. It kind of gets in there and becomes there.
Yes, yeah. I mean, it would have to. I mean, you don't want to keep flipping in and out. And to me, that would be, I'm not an actor, so I don't know anything about it, but you'd think that you'd want to keep it going for...
Well, you get rhythms in your life.
Yeah. For sure. And just so you know, you're going to go online right now to www.theatreorangeville.ca to get your tickets, or you can call the box office at 519-942-3423. They should be paying me. I'm like an ad. No, I'm joking. Absolutely. No. But yeah, so I mean, tell me a little bit more about the process. So I'm always interested in what happens in that. Like, so when you're going through rehearsals, changes are made, things like that happen, or do you just read exactly how it is, or how does it work?
This one was a wee bit different because we had boatography. Normally you have choreography, but we had boatography of where the boat moves and how we do it. So I've never been in a show that had boatography before.
No. This is the first boatography.
I was going to say, I've never heard of that. Yeah. And I used to teach dance, and I'm pretty sure I didn't hear that before.
We might have developed a new form of dance.
Yeah.
It's going to take on. Yeah, no, so that was a wee bit different.
Do you know what? That was actually a really good thing to do in the very first days of rehearsal, because as we said, Sweeney and I haven't worked together before. So in these 2.5 short weeks, part of the process is we sort of become really connected, and that's part of our jobs and just part of what happens. But doing the boatography together, being stuck in the boat and figuring out how it moved and stuff like that, I think that helped us.
Oh, absolutely.
Establish even.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm intrigued. I'm excited to go and see the boat move around the stage. And
come
see what
see.
happens. Yeah, absolutely, for sure. So when we're talking about processes, so we've had auditions and not auditions. We've had rehearsal.
Yeah.
We're to the point where we're going to do what's called cue to cue. So
Look at you and all your inside knowledge.
There's no cue cards. She's just getting that right off her head.
I don't know where I got it from. I really
not in
don't.
the
I really
studio.
don't. Yeah. No, I've got somebody talking in my ear. No, I don't. But I do. But yeah. So let's talk about what that is, because I always like to, for people who have just started watching the show or maybe aren't familiar with it, to talk about, because they see the finished product, but we don't really talk about what happens in between. So we've talked about rehearsal, we've talked about your photography, and so let's talk a little bit about what Q to Q is and how that works for you guys when you're on stage.
Yeah, well, I mean, when it comes to the technical week, we kind of are not the most important people in the production.
I know, it's infuriating.
It's infuriating. It's then the lighting and the sound design, and so you know, you're moved around to make sure you're hitting the right light. So it's a laborious process for those great technical folk that we have, and we just do as we're told.
Yeah, and it should also be said that the lights are a big part of this show.
Absolutely.
Too, because there are some magical elements of being, you know, out on the water and having memories and telling stories, and the lights change and we talk about a storm and things like that, and that's all part of the magic of theater.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, we're amazing enough actors that we hardly need it.
We barely need it, but it's there.
But it's there just in case.
Yeah.
So we were talking about accents, and now we need to talk about your accent, because you've got a Scottish accent.
Well,
Yes?
just in case David does Brigadoon, I thought I'd keep this going, and then you never know.
So is it difficult for you to do, like, to switch it over?
Well, no, I mean, we're doing a story about the East Coast. I'm just from the East Coast, the Eastern East Coast. Yeah, I'm sort of used to being able to sort of hide this accent a lot. So luckily, the Newfoundland accent is a real mix of Irish, Scottish, English. So it lends itself pretty well to my natural accent. Which
And he's
is
great at it. He's got it down pat.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's like my people out east. Where I was fortunate enough to do a show out there, and it was like going back home. It was like being in Scotland. So it's a wonderful community, a wonderful place, and that's why I'm really happy to be sort of showcasing a story from there, you know.
Well, I think Newfoundland itself just lends it to happy, fuzzy, warm feeling.
Absolutely.
Like I don't think you can go there and not just be surrounded by jovial, happy people that welcome you no matter where you come from.
And this is it. Hard-working,
Salt of
hard
the earth.
lives, salt of the earth. You know, they sing when they're down. Type of folk. You know.
And we do that in the show.
Don't give it away.
Oh.
So we've got less than a minute left. Stephen, you're going to tell me in a few words or less why it's important people come to the show.
Oh, like we talked about, live theater is what holds us together. Community. We've lost some of that feeling in our society, and it is a magical thing that I've always just worshipped about the live theater experience. It's not like going to the movies. It's you're seeing two actual real people, and you won't see the same show as the last night's audience.
Right.
And you become part of a community, experiencing something together.
Wonderful.
And it's a beautiful thing when it happs.
It is absolutely. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me today.
Good
Thanks
to see
a
you
lot.
again.
And for you guys, that was just the tip of the iceberg. You need to get your tickets and go to the website right now.
Oh, she's good at putting.
Don't you go anywhere. We'll be right back.
That's twice she mentioned this.
I know.
I can't believe I did that.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
I am a wild robot.
Be the first to watch the Wild Robot movie at
Home? Home. Amazing.
from the studio that brought you How to Train Your Dragon.
He needs to swim and fly.
Swimming's easy. I can teach him the way my mom taught me. Swim!
That's drowning.
The Wild Robot.
The Colts travel to Niagara to take on the Ice Dogs.
Work in front, shot, scores! Riley Patterson!
Colts versus Ice Dogs, Friday on Rogers TV.
Welcome back to Dufferin Life. If you're still with us, thank you for staying with us. If you're just joining us, as always, a great time. Okay, so this guy's a regular on this couch. I'm just going to say, you're going to know, I'm sure you can even hear him laughing and you know who it is. Joining me today, we have David Nairn, Artistic Director from Theatre Orangeville. David, thanks for coming on the show for the first time.
Thanks, Tina. Yes, it's so strange. I love what you've done with the place. It's really lovely. It's beautiful. No, it looks great. It always feels so homey.
Well, I'm glad.
I don't know what it looks like out there in Rogers Land, but here, this is a really comfy couch.
Yeah, it is. It is. You know, they treat me well here at Rogers. That's
for sure.
For sure.
You deserve it.
Well, thank you. So we're here to talk about something.
How you doing?
I'm good.
Awesome.
I'm good. You know, keeping out of trouble, all that sort of thing.
Says you. Okay.
Yep. Anyways, we're here to talk about something important.
Yes, indeed.
And you and I can often go off on tangents and miss the whole.
Really? No.
Never. But we're here to talk about something called Authors on Stage.
Authors on Stage, yes. It's an amazing series that we have in partnership with Booklore and Nancy Frater. It's really Nancy who's driving the bus. She does an amazing job. She's so well connected to all the publishers, and authors are on tour. They do book tours and they go across the country, and Orangeville has become one of those destinations. And we've had some incredible, real literary giants, really. And so the Authors on Stage series, the last one in the fall series is coming up in November. And it's a fundraiser, basically, to support our new play development fund.
Okay.
So any new work that you see on our stage, it has to be developed. We have to pay writers. And so Authors on Stage goes to support that. So there's a ticket price that people pay, and so that money comes to Theatre Orangeville. The book sales go to Booklore, and the authors are already on tour, and they're very supportive because it's sort of part of what their tour thing is. But we've had over the last, we've had some.
Well, let's talk. You've had some really there's certain ones that are coming to my mind, but let's talk about some of the ones that you have had, and then we're going to get to the exciting news of who's coming up.
Well, I mean, last year we had Peter Mansbridge. Peter had a new book about regular Canadians and what they do, and so he was promoting that. Chris Hadfield. We had been trying to get him for 6 or 7 years, and it just fell into our laps. He just kind of fell into our laps, and that was phenomenal. I mean, it sold out in like 90 minutes.
I know, I missed it. Sad face.
He's such a nice guy, and he only wanted to know two things. He wanted to know that we could. He has a presentation about it's all a video about the space shuttle taking off and all that. It's amazing, him walking in space and all that crazy, wonderful stuff. But he also wanted to know that I wouldn't kick him out as soon as it was finished, because he sat there. So he did an hour and a half, he did 90 minutes, and then he sat for 2 hours, and every one of the writers is like that. They want to engage in conversation, but they sit, he sat for 2 hours and signed every book, had conversations with every person. We just had, recently we had Diana Beresford Kroger, who's this mad, wonderful Irish woman. She's like she has like 3 PhDs, and she's a surgeon, but she writes about, all of her books are about environmental issues and climate concerns and all that kind of stuff. And she was able to put in the most engaging and simplest of terms. She said if every person on Earth could plant 1 tree for the next 6 years, we would have 60 billion new trees on Earth, and it wouldn't be a problem.
Right.
Like climate change wouldn't be an issue, because it's all about the trees that do this. So these amazing folk that are coming to our community and sharing these great stories. We were hoping to have Romeo Dallaire. We're hoping to have his schedule changed, and so we're hoping to have him in the spring. We had Mark Garneau, another, the first Canadian astronaut. Mark did a presentation of his new book, and that same night was Carol Off, because they're great friends. But Carol, of course, was the host of As It Happens for, I don't know, on CBC Radio for, I mean, everybody knows her, right? And so these incredible, incredible writers. I remember like 30 years ago when the theater first opened, Nancy was able to get Peter Zofsky.
Wow.
Who came, and David Suzuki has been, over the years. But it's really, it's just phenomenal, and they're so generous of spirit. We had Lawrence Hill recently with his new book, or at the time his latest book. Of course, his first book was the Book of Negroes, which was such a massive hit, and Anne Marie MacDonald, who wrote on your my brain.
I was going to say you want me to jump in there, but I'm even worse than you at remembering names of things.
So. Just these amazing, wonderful, wonderful writers, and they all get it. They're all in. We've had Dan Needles, we've had Trevor Cole, and they're so generous of spirit because they know that they're supporting other, in most cases, fledgling playwrights or writers. So it's kind of writers supporting writers, and it's great. And the community, they sell out. I mean, these things sell out in sometimes. Well, as I said, 90 minutes with Chris Hadfield, and they're always full, and the wonderful and our dearest friend Bernadette Hardacre, Bernadette, because she's a CBC personality from and interviewing people, and she just has such a winning way with people, and she just puts everyone at ease, and she's read all the books, and of course she's brilliant, and she's a writer herself, so she understands the process, so she's always able to ask such engaging and moderate such an incredible, engaging, and inspiring conversations with writers. So it's not just about the writing process, but we had Adam Schultz last year, and Adam has written he's an award-winning writer. He's written a book called The History of Canada in 10 Maps. So he took Lake Champlain and kind of charted the history of the growth of Canada through using maps.
Wow. Okay.
And it's just, great writers.
I have attended many of them. They are phenomenal. We're going to get into who's coming on November 9th.
Because she's been with us before.
She has been with us before. I've met her. She signed my book that I had. But please, David, tell us who's coming on November 9th.
Is it the 9th or the 6th?
The 6th. I'm sorry.
Well, it's the upside down.
It's the upside down.
6 is the upside down 9, Teena, okay?
See? David understands how my brain works. I'm sorry, it is November 6th.
And that terrifies me because I totally know how your brain works.
Well, it should terrify you.
November the 6th, Tanya Talaga is returning. We had her a year or so before, but she, of course, she's the author of Seven Fallen Feathers. She won an RBC Taylor Prize for that. She was the CBC Massey Lecturer that year with that book. And of course, it was it's the recounting. She's a journalist. She's Anishinaabe herself. And it was that particular book was about 7 Indigenous youth in Thunder Bay that were lost. And her new book, The Knowing, that she's going to be promoting on this tour, where she's promoting on this current tour she's on, is the story of her great-great-grandmother, who was in a residential school, and so it really examines that, as well as the kind of the reclamation, really, of those stories and of that Indigenous spirit, right? Despite that kind of those horrific tales, and so that's what the book's about. And of course, she's now, when she was with us before, I think she was with the Toronto Star, but she now is a regular columnist with the Globe and Mail.
Okay.
Writing on around Indigenous stories and coming from that point of view. And as I say, I think she's so fascinating. The last time she was up, was able to have dinner with her, and just to hear her passion and her sense of hope and moving forward and all. She's super inspiring. It's not all it's a bit of a heavy topic.
I was going to say it's definitely something that you have to kind of get your mindset in to read, because it's not a bunch of happy stories.
Yeah, I'm only a little ways into The Knowing. Seven Fallen Feathers was a tough read.
But
brilliantly written.
Yes, I was going to say she wrote it so brilliantly, and you feel the emotion, but it definitely was like a hard read. Like it was. I had to. But it needed to be.
It totally. And I found with that book that I could only read like 20 pages, and then I had to kind of put it down. Like I couldn't, because some of the stories were so overwhelmingly hard,
tragic
tough,
and hard,
hard, but so essential and so necessary to be told. And so the knowing, as I say, I'm just sort of getting into the book myself, but it's coming from a very personal point of view for her. This is the story of her family, and what that sort of looks like in terms of her storytelling, right? Not that she wasn't just as passionate with Seven Fallen Feathers, but she's just such an engaging personality. But the thing that I really came away from with when she was here prior to was just her desire to tell the story in order to move forward through awareness.
Yes.
Like when I was a kid, we heard about, we didn't know anything about them, and that's not an excuse.
No.
Like that's not an excuse for not knowing. Like ignorance of the law is no excuse. But they were kind of pitched to my generation as being positive things.
Yes.
That this is a positive thing. We're providing an education, right? But anyways, I'm thrilled that Tanya's coming. She's pretty jazzed about coming back too. So that sort of rounds out the fall series.
I'm definitely very excited about that, because I think you talked about it and you just said awareness, and that's what this is all about. This is why you're on the show. This is why we're talking about her book and what's going on. But for so long, without going into a lot of the horrible stories of the past, for so long, people, it wasn't exactly something that you could go and find out about easily. It was
suppressed. It was hidden. It was hidden. Who's going to admit that that's what's going on, right? Like, so it was repressed. It was hidden. It was not.
And then if you had, like, if you didn't have a personal interest in it, you didn't know. Like, and that's not, as you said, it's not an excuse. But you're growing up, you're going to school, you're getting history, and what you think you're getting is all of the history.
You go, here's kids from beyond the back, that aren't having an education for education, or a chance for education, who are getting it, right? But anyways, those are the stories. But so it's really, it's profoundly deep conversation that has to happen, that is happening, and that's fantastic. And Tanya is moving that along, and when we're thrilled and honored to be able to be one of her stops on her journey of telling the story across the country.
David, as
our
always,
audience wants to hear it.
Thank you for coming on the show.
No, Teena, are you kidding? You're the best.
And thank you for joining us. Don't forget to get your tickets to see authors on stage. And until next time, bye-bye for now.
Connect with us by visiting our website or email us at comments@rogerstv.com.
Summer days, summer nights, lots of things to do, places to go, and people to see. If you're having a few drinks, be sure to plan ahead and get home safely. We don't want to pick you up. Drinking drivers risk injuries to themselves and others and take chances with their license, their jobs, and their future. Remember what's at stake and choose your ride.